In this lesson, we're going to continue upresing our low mesh here. First by checking our torso. We always want to build out and we want to build evenly. So the first thing we want to do is check over our mesh and make sure that it's going well for what our needs are. First of all, I notice that my hand is in a direction that I don't want it to be built in, simply because the bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, are twisted, and I don't want that for a fresh build. So the first thing I'm going to do is detach the hand, rotate it, and fix the forearm. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is give a little bit more definition in the head, including the ears. And at that point, I have a mesh that's very low res that can be used for an ambient crowd member, but it's looking like a decent mesh. And very easily, I went ahead and shaped this up for you. Very easily we can change a few proportions and get a female character. So let's go ahead and hide her again. And first thing we're going to do is go ahead in here and change our hand. Now the reason I want to go ahead and show you how to change these things is because you may find that certain things are not going well on your mesh. I want you to get confident about ripping your mesh apart and rebuilding it rather than preserving errors in your build and just continuing, because it just only gets worse if you're not building from a solid base mesh. So let's go ahead and select the polygons and detach those. In my rollout, I'll come right down here to detach. Click on detach. It's going to ask me if I want to detach to element, detach as a clone. I just want a separate object, and you can go ahead and name this if you so desire. This is just going to be a quick interim mesh, and I'll go back, and right now I still have my body selected. I'm going to select on the hand, and I'm going to just rotate that. And I don't have a gizmo here, so I need to go ahead and go to the hierarchy menu, effect pivot only, center object, make this a little bit easier to handle. And once I have centered the pivot on my new object, which is the hand, I can select on rotate, which is E on the keyboard, and just rotate that hand in the direction that I want it. Now this black that keeps flickering in front of my camera is polygons from my my image planes. Alright, so once I have that rotated, I can come right down here and get a clean rotation just by plugging in -90 in the X. I can move that over, top-down view. And go ahead and move that over. And right away I can see that my edge loops are not going to be lining up. So again, easy to fix. I can go ahead in here, edge, grab one of the edge loops, and under Flow Connect, making sure that Auto Ring is on, simply click on Flow Connect, and that gives me a new edge loop all the way around the hand. So I know that it's going to match up down here as well. Selecting on the top of the stack, so I have object selected, and I can see now that I don't have enough edge loops going this way either, so I'll select on this object and grab the edge sub-object, select on an edge, and give myself another loop. Flow Connect, making sure the auto ring is on, and I have an edge loop that goes clean through all the way through to the back, which is now going to allow me enough edge loops on the back of the hand as well. So front Z, zoom in. Now what I can do is top of the stack again, object, and make for a cleaner weld. Okay, that's front, top view. Z zooms into what I have selected. Alright, that's going to be much easier for my weld tool to assimilate. So, alright, FC again. Now I can grab the object and attach it. Attach. Alright, and grabbing all these vertices, I want to make sure that they're welded cleanly. I'm going to select on settings, and you cannot see this in the capture that I'm doing, but it brings up the menu, and I can select on the arrows until I can see that they're all welded, and there is nothing being welded that I don't want welded. I select the check mark to accept that weld, and we have a clean weld now. Alright, so I'm going to take a moment also in top-down view. You can see that I have gone ahead and plugged in this image plane from my side view, my left view, and my front view. I'm using it for top-down also to have some idea of where my arm is going to be. So as you can see, now that I have my thumb up, my the surface anatomy is not being correctly portrayed here. So now I can thin this out, perhaps thin this out just a little bit, take this back to give suggestion of an elbow. And this very low mesh. Alright, now I have just a little bit better idea of where this is going. Although this is a very large hand, you can see that. So all I need to do really is grab those verts and scale them down uniformly and put them in their side so that that is a better proportion for that model. Alright, again, I only need to do one side because I have the mirror tool and I can mirror that over. But we're not done making modifications yet, so we will continue with the torso and head and ear. I'm going to begin cutting into the torso and defining that. As you can see, each time I move, I get a black area though, and that's kind of annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust my image planes. Having them separate objects, I can very easily pull them in and out and use them how I choose. I've unfrozen my image planes. I'm going to be using this one initially, which has the bone information to help me find my bony landmarks. I'm going to bring that one forward, and for the time being I'm just going to select these and hide them. Okay, and I will come back to those as I need them. Alright, so I'm going to select all these and freeze them again, so I'm not selecting on them. I don't need my my measuring device right now. I'll freeze this one and this one as well, so you can see those. Alright, so front, zoom. Now that I have my bones in place, I'll go ahead and I have my object selected, object properties. I'm going to turn this see-through again so that I can see through that and find my bony landmarks. So right now we have an edge loop going just under the armpit and through the center of the chest. And the first thing we're going to find is the very end of the sternum here, which is the center of the rib cage. There, right about where that is, we're going to find that bony landmark by just putting an edge loop in there. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to flow connect those areas. And I didn't get a real good flow there, so I can go ahead in with my vert sub-object selected, front view, and I'm just going to grab the verts that I want to adjust and adjust them. And I'm only going to do the work on one side, because we'll end up mirroring that anyway, so no, don't waste your time. Alright, and once that is done and we have found our xiphoid process, we're going to then come on down here and we're going to define the top of the hip. And there's a purpose for finding these bony landmarks, because once you get a working style going, you can depend on that style to do your high-res modeling, and you know exactly where those bony landmarks are, so that you don't override those with your sculpting. So once that's in place and you know that that then becomes, you know, your landmark for your sculpting, then you want to go ahead and find more of them. What I'm going to do now is go up to Object Properties and turn on Backface Cull. Alright, what that does is it only allows you to see the front of your mesh, and nothing behind it is going to show. So as you can see, my object is still transparent. You can see through it, but I don't have to look at the edges from the opposite side of the mesh. This makes it a little easier to know where you're planting your knots in your mesh. So now that that's done, I'm going to select polygons. This brings up a whole new set of graphite modeling tools. There's many at your disposal. You again will find your own working process. Some people like to extrude to create objects. Others like to use the bevel tool. Others loft, which is the creation of, as we did before for the architectural, you lay down a spline and you create a lofted surface between certain areas. It's usually, in fact, it's commonly used for creating surfaces for hard objects such as vehicles and so forth. So in the organic, you typically want to cut in the muscles and shape them first on a very low res mesh so that you can have as much control as possible. Alright, so let's go ahead and find our tools to cut, and the first thing I'm going to concentrate cutting in is pectoral muscles. So I'm going to begin here, and I'm just going to go from edge to edge, plotting. One thing I want to explain is not to follow the hills and valleys of the muscles themselves that make up the surface anatomy. That's not our biggest concern right now. Our biggest concern is finding or laying out edge loops along those what I call the bony landmarks, which is the bones that affect the surface anatomy the most, such as the hip and the clavicle and the rib cage, and on the back it's the shoulder blade. And so this is what we're concentrating on right now.